All right, let's make a formal introduction for our listeners. Good afternoon, Burleigh. My name is Claudio, and I'm calling you from Washington, D.C. From the Students Fairfax City. We're very grateful that Burleigh Drummond accepted our invitation to our show. Burleigh, welcome to the show, man.
Thank you so much, Claudio. It's a pleasure to be here.
Oh, same. Thank you very much. Let's go back to the beginning of your life. Um, Burleigh, were you born like in a musical family? I mean, how old were you when you perhaps began taking, I don't know, guitar lesson or piano lesson when you were a little kid?
Well, okay, so I'm an Army brat. My father was a full colonel in the Army. So I was born in Kansas, Fort Leavenworth, Kansas. Now there's a rumor that when my dad met my mom was an Army nurse, and my dad, they were both stationed in Japan after the war, and for quite a while. And the rumor is that they got caught. Getting it on, so to speak, on the mountain of Fuji, Mount Fuji, and they got busted. And then my dad ended up in Fort Leavenworth, which is a prison camp for military prison camp.
Wow.
So yeah, you can kind of say that I was made in Japan, even though I didn't come out until
Yeah.
Fort Leavenworth, Kansas. So I don't know if it's true, but that's the story. So grew up on military bases a lot as a kid. The only musical history in my family that I know of was my father used to play banjo with Big Spiderbeck. And that's, but he had stories of growing up in the neighborhood with Big Spiderbeck and all that. But very first instrument was playing bugle on military bases, playing taps and reveille and things like that.
Oh.
And then I tried accordion, and then finally, after destroying my neighbor's little toy drum set that he had when I was a kid, like in the third grade, fourth grade, my parents kind of thought, well, I had to do a paper route where I made money. I had to pay back the kid for destroying his drum set, but then my parents bought me a starter drum set, and that was the beginning of my career. So, I mean, my love for drumming. Um, so I basically started on drums, and then I played a little guitar throughout the years. But when I went to college at UCLA, I was a music major, so I had to learn how to play piano and learn it really quickly. So it was like I was playing piano for about 8 hours a day just to catch up, because every other student there was, an accomplished pianist, except for me. So I had a lot of catching up to do. But in college, I really furthered my desires in jazz and ethnic music, African music and Indian music. And that's always been like a main thing for me. So I got to study with Kwasi Badu, the Ghanaian master drummer, and I studied with Ala Raka. That was Ravi Shankar's tabla player, very famous tabla player. And so I had, even though I was totally obsessed with the Beatles and the Rolling Stones and everybody else, Cream, you name it, I always had this other, to me, I was just as exciting hearing a raga from India, or an African drum ensemble from Ghana. So I've never had any kind of barriers as far as what's good music and what's bad music. Uh, I was heavy into jazz for a long time, and still am. But so I've had quite a full background of music, and so in college, tell me if I'm rattling on here too. But um, in college, Ambrosia United, they found me. They were a band. They were a four-piece band, but their drummer got his girlfriend pregnant, so he had to stop being in the band and go get a job. Uh, but there's this place called Musicians Contact Service, where on Hollywood Boulevard in Hollywood, for $5 you could put a 3x5 card on the wall on the and musicians would come in and look for, oh yeah, I need a bass player. Well, they look for bass players or they look for drummers. So the three of them and the other three members of Ambrosia went in there one afternoon. They saw my name, drums. And first of all, they couldn't believe it that my name was Burleigh Drummond and I played the drums.
That's right.
So so they called me up and they came over to my little apartment with, I lived with my mom while I was going to college um, and we became a band right there on the spot, just hanging out because we had such musical, we shared such musical tastes. Then the first time we played, we had a rehearsal. The first song we played lasted about an hour and a half. It's just, we were just having so much fun, and we had so many different influences happening. And to this day, I have to say that, Joe Puerta, Dave Pack, Chris North are three of the most profound and gifted musicians and writers I've ever been with. So I started off at the top in my book.
Yeah, which is good and bad because you have nothing else to compare, right? So,
Well, yeah, I do. I mean, being with that band, I learned so much. I
right,
mean, I
yeah.
learned so much about, making a good song and producing and writing and orchestrating. It was a great, great band and, some of my favorite writers.
And you guys have early in the beginning, like many five top 40 hit single between 75 and 80. How Much I Feel, The Biggest Part of Me, You're the Only Woman,
Yeah.
Holding On to Yesterday. Man, those are any one of those, man. How
Well,
how how difficult was to put together? Who writing the lyrics? Was a lot of rehearsal in between tracks or
Well, yes. It was funny. When we started off, like we started in 1970. And so originally, probably the thing that we did the most was prog music, progressive
right,
music. And
right.
our first two albums were more prog. Prog progressive. We were influenced by Genesis. We were kind of considered America's answer to Genesis, King Crimson, ELP, you
Yeah.
know. So the first two albums, especially, were mostly that. Holding On was our first hit off our first album, but that song was funny because when it was written, it was kind of a country song. But one day we were cutting it, but we weren't really happy. We were trying to record it, but weren't really happy with the way it was coming out. So that night, I went home and I put on B.B. King's "The Thrill Is Gone." And I brought that into the band and I said, how about if we try to make Holding On, sound a little bit like B.B. King's The Thrill Is Gone.
Mhm.
And that's how we got our first hit. Because, of course we couldn't be B.B. King, but, that's our version, that's
Gotcha.
our, so, then the kind of strange part is during the day we would record this more progressive music, but at night, our budget was so small that at night we had to go play a bar 5 nights a week to make enough money to eat, live on while we recorded during the day. And the bar was a female gay bar that we played. Um, they call a lesbian bar, whatever. So, but all they wanted to hear was R&B, rhythm and blues. That's all they wanted.
Yeah.
And so that's where we started playing that music. And you play that music enough and you're influenced by it. And then you start, your writing starts, changing a little bit. And that's how songs like Biggest Part of Me and How Much I Feel, and, because those have like a kind of white R&B feel to them, and that's where they came from playing a female game every
Yeah.
night.
Wow. Man, you have so many stories, man. You need to write a book.
Yeah,
Have we ever said that to you?
yeah. Well, yeah, I have. But lyrics and things, and a lot of times we inspired each other in the band. Like I
Gotcha.
was I was studying with the famous drum teacher Freddie Gruber, who's a notorious drum teacher, and he had me doing this kind of exercise, how to play a certain beat, and so I was obsessed with that beat, and I would play it nonstop. And because I wouldn't stop playing it, we wrote like 6 songs with that beat because that's the feel of biggest part of me and living on my own and dancing by myself and things like that. All came from that one beat that I wouldn't stop playing.
Good for you, man. At the time, it was difficult to get like a deal with a record label. You have like a stipend, or it still was
Well,
difficult somebody to listen to at the beginning when
yeah,
before you have any hits, right? Somebody need to
yeah,
give you a chance, right? To go to studio, a studio town at the time that were not done in the computer nowadays. So it
mhm,
was, an engineer, a mixer. You need to rent a room
yeah,
like a couple of weeks or a week, and so it was somebody to be needed to put the money to put it
right.
together, right? So
Well, so we auditioned for Herb Alpert, uh,
oh my god,
A&M Records, and he gave us enough money to cut 3 songs, 3 demos, and we did, and he passed on it. He passed on the recording, but an engineer friend of ours um, was in another studio, started working in another studio, and he would use our songs to align his tapes, his tape machine to make sure, everything was set right to record. And the owner of the studio came in and he heard our songs go by, started asking questions like, "Who is this?" And then he took the demos to 20th Century Fox, the label 20th Century Fox, and that was Russ Regan, the guy that discovered Barry White and Elton John and Olivia Newton-John.
wow,
He, yeah, so he heard our tapes and he wanted to sign us. So it's all a matter of luck. If that engineer would not have been playing those tapes, if the studio owner had not come in and heard them, if he had not known Russ Regan, it's like so many,
a combination of things, right?
yeah,
And,
totally.
and then when somebody back in the day, when somebody or record labels, you were signed to, that means like, hey, I need X number of hits, X number of albums for that many years. What's the process? Because I have heard so many stories that young kids at the beginning will sign anything and they will end up making only 3%, and the record label and the owner of the record label, they spend 90% of the money, and the young kid, they don't know exactly what they're signing and anything, and they're at the end they're bankrupt, right? They have some kid, they don't have music right, publishing right, the music. How
No,
you guys knew how to do that kind of stuff? Because
no, 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 no. We were a textbook case of how bad your record deals could be. I mean,
yeah,
we had manager problems. Our manager made, basically, uh, more than we made altogether. It was really bad, and it actually kind of forced our hand to break up and or take a sabbatical around 1982, just because we weren't making any money off our own music. We'd have to do other people's albums to make enough money. So yeah, so yes, we suffered through that, and
yeah.
I, the problem was, I mean, record companies back in that day, they have no problem giving you the money, but they're going to make it back any and every way they can. So before you make money, they're going to make their money back.
They need
And
to, yeah, they need to, right.
and so,
Make whatever the money that whatever money they lend you, $10,000, whatever. Okay, after sales and everything, we want to take the $10,000 plus interest, and then the rest, the 5 of you spend $100 each, or
yeah,
$100 into 5 or $20 each, or whatever
yeah.
it was. Yeah,
So I think, what's happened though today, I think people are a lot more savvy.
yeah,
I would hope so. That they
yeah.
would go get a good lawyer and do what's right. But still, still, of course, an artist, I mean, especially now because there's so much music available. So, it's like to be heard from the crowd, to be separated from the crowd, you're kind of in the same problem. You've got to do something to elevate yourself, to be
Yeah.
noticed.
Yeah, because back in the day, I think a record label will send the hits, right? The 45, right? Side
Yeah.
A, side B, and pay a little bit of money to each station. Hey, play my music, and we give you, $100 or whatever. So you need to have airplane time because the studio was very expensive. Nowadays, as you know, right? Anybody, well, not everybody, but the majority of people can do with a $2,000 computer, do all the recording, the mix engineering. So it's a lot cheaper. And on the other hand, right, on a Spotify, let's say you need to have a million hits to make a check of $100, right? So
Yeah,
it's
exactly.
so
I
it's
know my wife and I, after Ambrosia settled down. I mean, it took their sabbatical. My wife and I formed a band called Tin Drum,
yeah,
and we had 3 albums out. And on our first album, we had a song called Surrender that was getting, airplay and tertiary, secondary markets. It was doing really well. And then I got a call from a major programmer. He programmed 600 radio stations. He gave them their playlists, and he called me, and he remembered me from when I did an interview when he was a disc jockey, and he had anyway. He told me, Burleigh. He goes, "You have a hit record here." He goes, "You have a hit record. Now tell me that you have $1 million to invest in the hit record." Because he goes, no matter who it is, Paul McCartney, anybody, it doesn't matter who it is. That's what it costs to make a hit record. That's what it costs to get it on the radio, enough radio to make it cross over into a hit. And we didn't have that. We were week to week. With our new son, and just starting out our new life together. We didn't have $1 million. But in retrospect, I think I should have gone and robbed a bank because it might have been worth it.
yeah, got you. In general, David Pack is it's an unbelievable guy. I have seen many interviews with him and work done with Alan Parsons and so on. In general, tell why he ended up, if you don't mind, leaving the band, because you guys were, a very tight crew, a very tight group, right? So,
Yeah, I think if there was a way to undo that, I wish I could. But we had taken a break in
right,
1982, 83, so Dave could do a solo album.
correct, yeah,
It's supposed to take a year to do, but it took 6 years, and so after that time, he specifically wanted to get back together, because he had tried. I think he had tried. I mean, and I'll do credit to Dave. He had tried to become a solo artist, and everything he tried didn't fulfill him enough, so he wanted to go back and try the band again, because that's where he had his greatest success. And so we put it together, and we were playing a lot, not a lot, but we were starting to get momentum. And it's amazing how much the industry changed in that 6 years, So, but he was conflicted because he was getting offers to produce, so he basically couldn't. He would bow out of gigs like the week of the show, and that would kind of leave the rest of us in the lurch, because the promoter would be mad, da, 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 da. And so it just got to the point where, we had a show, and he wanted to bow out of it again, and he threatened us saying, if you go do this show, I quit. And it just got to the point where we realized that we were never going to go anywhere with Dave. It would be hard to do it without him, but the only choice we had was to go on.
hire somebody else, right? So,
Yeah, so that's what we did. And
cool.
It's I'm not saying it's been easy to fill his position because I think he is one of the most talented people I've ever known, without a doubt. But but we've had some amazing people with us in his
Absolutely, absolutely,
yeah.
absolutely. You also play with a lot of very famous people as well, right? Yeah.
I play with everybody I can.
Yeah. Hey,
I
so
love
was
to
money?
play. I
No,
love
I
yeah.
think if I remember correctly, you play with Alan Parsons, right? Frank Zappa, Michael McDonald, Dave Mason,
Yeah,
all the guys, right?
yeah,
What
sure.
any stories that you can share that I don't know, Alan Parsons, Michael McDonald, you have two
Okay.
names there.
Well, Alan Parsons was great because when
Mm.
he was mixing our first record, which he got nominated for a Grammy for mixing the mixing of our record,
Mm.
unfortunately for us, he had won the Grammy the year before with Pink Floyd, so they weren't going to give him another Grammy, for the same thing the next year. So
Yeah,
so while he was there, he was working on his very first album, Tales of Mystery and Imagination. So
yeah,
he asked us to cut one of the tracks. That what's the name of it? Uh, well, one of the tracks, uh, the Raven, the
yeah,
Ravens. But
yeah.
he was so secretive about it. He wouldn't even tell us the name of the song. He called it the Raver. Like some guy that's us. And so we cut the track, and then we didn't even know what it was until we didn't know the lyric. We didn't know we just played the track and cut it for him, and there you go. But
Cool.
I'll tell you my story about Frank Zappa. I played with Frank for about 2 months, uh, and during that time, I was still in college. I was my senior year in college, and um, you know, I was I was playing for Frank's music. I was stretched to the very last degree that I was possible for me to. I mean, because all the charts were odd times, and the band was George Duke, John Luke Ponty, the Fowler brothers, Sal Marquez, Ruth and Ian Underwood. And it's like all these people that my idols. I was playing with all my idols, you know. But Frank,
Wow.
yeah, but Frank was. Uh, I mean, I didn't think I deserved to be there, but he thought I was cutting it. So I kept going every day. And then Ambrosia got an offer, and I went to Frank. Ambrosia got the offer for our deal. And I go into Frank and I go, Frank, he goes, I have my band got an offer. And I go, I don't know what I'm torn. I don't know what to do. And he goes, that's your band, right? And I go, yeah, that's my band. He goes, well, get out of here. That's your band. That's what you're meant to do. I can get anybody to be my, there's 10,000 drummers I could make be my drummer. He goes, but you only, yeah, it's your band. Go do it,
Yeah.
you know. And
He
so
was, yeah,
he's a good guy. Yeah,
good for
really.
you. Yeah.
Yeah.
From what I heard, he is very precise and very strict. He knows exactly what he wants, right?
Oh, yeah,
And at
no.
the end of the gig, he will lecture everybody, the drummer. Sit down, my friend. Okay, you play this. The second beat was off, and this and that. The hi hat didn't sound right, and then okay, now Jean-Luc Ponty. Hey,
Yeah,
that particular track, that's what I heard. Of course.
yeah.
He
No,
he
he,
was uh, he was very good. Yeah,
yeah. He,
yeah,
there's a story, Lowell George from Little Feat.
yeah.
Lowell George, Lowell George played with Zappa for a while, and one time he says, Frank, he goes, "Hey, I wrote a song yesterday. Can I play it for you?" And Frank goes, "Yeah, play it for me." And he played "I'm Willin'," and Frank goes, "That's great, George. You're fired. Go do your own band."
Really?
That's the story. So, I mean, that just shows you how much, when he realizes somebody has more to give than just to be in his band. Not that that's any small feat. To be in Frank's band is the crowning achievement as a musician in my mind. But,
Yeah.
but he realizes that you have something else to offer, you know,
Mm.
he tells you to go do it. So there you
Which is
go.
which is good because a selfish person will say, now in that example, no, that track or Ambrosia's terrible, stay with me. You have a
Yeah,
job for life, as supposed to, right? So it's
exactly.
good that any memory of Michael McDonald. He's
Oh, my,
another hero of mine. He's a very nice guy too, man.
the sweetest
Unbelievable.
person, sweetest
Yeah,
person in the world. So, he lives in Santa Barbara, which is about an hour from me here.
yeah,
And so we always rehearse at my house. So Ambrosia comes here and we were doing a series of shows with him. And he's so funny because he shows up, it's like, and we had to do it early, like 9 in the morning. And so he shows up and he sits in the keyboard. And so the keyboard is facing the drums, like we're like 4 or 5 feet apart from each other.
yeah.
And he sits down, he goes, "Oh, I can't sing. My throat is gone." And da, da, da. And so the first chord, he just starts being Mike McDonald. And you're like, the power of his voice almost knocks you over. It's like, yeah, you're really hurting. It just this amazing voice comes out. I've never stopped being amazed by him.
Yeah, he's plus I have never had the opportunity to interview him, but he's a very nice guy. I have seen him live. I don't know, like 5 times with it. Now he's playing with the Doobie Brothers again. You
Yeah,
know, sometimes he's on with his own band, and then
yeah.
Doobie Brothers, get back together and they play together.
That's
This it's a great guy, man.
That's one of my favorite all-time gigs that Ambrosia's gotten to do is to back him up. It's just
Yeah,
just amazing. I mean, great songs and just a great performer. Oh, so you like, I thought I worked hard on stage because I sweat and you know, but man, so we to line up for the bow after the show. He's got a shirt, a vest, a sport, a coat on, and it's so. I mean, you could if you press hard on it, it would run water out of it. He works that hard, he sweats that hard. When
wow. Yeah,
he doesn't hold back anything.
yeah,
Yeah.
good for you. Let's talk a little bit about your latest album, and feel free to elaborate on how that particular band, uh, started. I think you guys during the COVID, everybody was at home. Your kids when came back home, and of course your wife Mary Harris. She's a very well known musician as well. And how was the genesis of that, the latest album?
Well, the title of it is Emerson Street, and that's the house that we are still in right now, that my kids grew up in and started piano lessons when they were 4, and played in their little bands growing up and so forth. And then my son went off to college, and my daughter went off to after college to the Peace Corps, and my son started this band with the Everly Brothers, a tribute to the Everly Brothers. He was doing really well touring. My daughter was in Thailand, and then the COVID hit, and everybody had to come home. And so we're home, and we hadn't been around our kids that much for a while before that, and then all of a sudden they're playing these songs that they had written, and my wife and I were just like amazed, like wow, and so we decided, here we are, 4 musicians stuck in one house. What are we going to do? So we started recording. And, one thing led to another. And pretty soon we had enough tracks to put out as an album. And it was really great because, we had to, if we needed a bass player, well, one of us had to learn enough bass to be able to play it, or, you know what I mean? So
Sure.
we became each other's band and each other's
Yeah.
co. And I've done a lot of engineering, so I got to engineer it. We have a studio here, so that's how it happened. But it was really great. And as you grow up in a family with kids, there's things that maybe never really get resolved. Growing up, and so
I know what
actually,
you mean. I know what you mean.
yeah, yeah. So it was therapeutic in a very much the same way as, it was good for us. And now, now it's nice because Mary and I still play with Ambrosia. We go out and play Ambrosia. My son still tours with his Everly Brothers. My daughter is, playing all over LA, and she's going through her Joni Mitchell period. She's writing a song every other day, and I can't keep up. I can't keep up engineering and recording. It's just so much. She's on fire right now. So
Good for you, man. Good for you. For the two kids you took it. Is it difficult to make nowadays a living in the music business with so many artists and with promotion expensive, and they want to form a family? They should, as you know, during the COVID, right?
yeah,
Many bands disappeared. Many bands that I interviewed at the beginning that were trying to make it,
yeah,
they disappeared because they couldn't tour, so they couldn't earn any money. So either they split with the wife, significant other, they went back to school, they got another job. So many bands disappear, right? So I'm, I see a lot of shows in the year. I have no idea how easy or how difficult it is for the people that is in front of me playing tracks, playing 20 songs or 15 songs for the next 2 hours, right? So how difficult is to make it nowadays in the music business?
it's hard. I mean, it like for me with this new album, the Emerson Street Family Band, it was a whole. It was a whole new world to me about the promotion, the Spotify plays, it's like what you have to, you have to have a video to put out with your song. It's like there's a whole new set of rules to this game of promotion. And luckily, my daughter was somewhat tuned in. I mean, more than me. I thought, I'm used to a record company doing it, and but so it's been a slow education on my part, but a steady one. Uh, so we're working on our next record already and excited
Yeah.
about it. And they, my son and my daughter are voracious in their appetite for going out and playing. I mean, they're like I was when I was their age, like
Yeah.
3 gigs a day was nothing, now 1 gig a day and I need to take a nap, but
Yeah. I know what you mean, man. Yeah, it's tough nowadays because I don't know. I think I heard could have been King Crimson that the last record when they were together, they spent $100,000, right? So
uh-huh.
they thought, how recover that investment? Well, we do it because we like the music and we have a little bit of money, whatever. But then again, well, fewer and fewer people are buying record, buying vinyl, buying CDs. So they need to calculate, well, we need to do meet and greet, and then we need to sell, 100 t-shirts every night and every gig that we play to recover that investment. So you need to do a lot of sales in the merchandising department in
Right.
order to just break even, no make money, right?
That's true. Yeah, yes, and there's a fight over the merchandise because now everybody's tuned into it now.
Mm.
The venue wants their cut.
Mm.
Uh, your manager wants his cut. The promoter wants a cut. Everybody wants a cut wherever there's potential money to be made.
Don't want to get there.
Everybody wants a part of it. So yeah. It's a
How
challenge.
you how you re- how you recovered that investment for the first album or yet? Or you're working on it?
Uh, yeah, no, we've broken even now, but
Okay, yeah, yeah.
I'm for my family, I'm free. I do all the engineering and the mixing.
Right.
So,
Maybe
so
you when your kids get bigger to the next day, maybe we'll say, "What's my cut? What's my 3% fee of engineering fee? 3%. You're
yeah,
staying at home 2%. You're saving money in the hotel or whatever."
right, right.
Yeah, and then so what's the new album about? I mean, are you in the process of recording that, writing the tracks, or?
Yeah. Well, so anything that has to do, any theme that has to do with us being a family or it happened during our time together, that tends to mark it as, oh, that's a song for a family album.
Got it, yeah.
If they're doing something if all of us are still writing, and if it doesn't pertain to the family album, then we tend to put it on another project, like Tin Drum, or, my daughter has her solo career, my son has his solo career too. So, there's plenty of outlets. So
I got you. The new album is I heard the album. I don't have it, so I heard the album Spotify a couple times this week, and I think it's very good, man. I really like it.
oh,
You
thank
know,
you. Yeah, I think so too. I like it
yeah,
a lot. It's gotten
yeah,
great reviews, and I'd be
yeah.
happy to send you one, by the way.
Oh, that would be as long as you sign it.
Oh,
Everybody
sure.
to sign it. Your kids to. Thank you very much. And then it's it's possible, with your wife when you're not busy with Ambrosia and your kids to work that album. I mean, you done? Do you plan on doing that? Or
Yeah, we have some shows booked. We're going up to Canada, doing a few dates up there. We're doing
yeah,
a couple local shows here. I mean, we haven't gotten any major tours or anything like that, but it takes time for. I mean, we're following that long legacy of the Partridge Family,
mm,
you know, family bands, which it's kind of interesting. My son pointed out to me something because he plays with the Everly Brothers experience, and he goes, Dad, you got to realize that before the Everly Brothers, which was a family band, basically, two brothers, all there was all these groups and they were all family groups, and that was the earliest part of rock and roll or country or Western, the Louvin Brothers, and all these different, the main influences before, like the Everlys, was all family bands.
yeah,
And so it's like we're we're going back to something that was really popular, in the early 50s, you know. But we're excited. We're excited to play
yeah.
together.
Well, there's always venues here in DC area. If you want a tour here, and I can send you a list of some of them that I know the owners of many of them, because
Oh,
I
I'd love it.
I see so many concerts here, man. That there are many. I think Ambrosia, right? Ambrosia, as you know, when you were on the Wolf Trap, you sold out, and every time that you come to DC, I think I saw you at the Bishmer as well some
Oh
years
yeah,
ago. Yeah,
yeah.
I go there very often. Any of those venues, I think you could tour with your band. Man.
Yes, I would
You
love
and your
that.
wife are well known, and with a new record, with good promotion, I'm quite sure that, or opening for another band, whatever,
Sure. Yeah,
2 or 3 bands on the bill, you
yeah.
could promote it,
I'd
if
love
that is
that.
something that you like, right?
Oh no, we would love it. We'd love to
Yeah.
do it. Yeah.
And then if you like Latin food, you come here after the show. My wife is I'm from Chile. My wife from Colombia, so you will have the best Latin food in the world here in this house. You will
I
need to have
believe
one.
it. I would
Yeah,
love that. I
you'll
mean,
drink Chilean wine and Colombian coffee too.
sounds great. We would love that. We just
Yeah.
uh we just played in Ecuador up in
Oh, really?
yeah,
Yeah.
up way up in the mountains, Cuenca. We went to
Yeah, Cuenca.
Cuenca.
Yeah, got it. Yeah.
So,
And yeah,
right.
you like it?
Oh, love it.
Yeah.
It's great. Yeah, wonderful.
You need to
And
go to Chile and Argentina too.
okay, I'd love that.
Argentina, Ambrosia is very popular down there. You know that.
Yeah, I know we have a lot of fans. We've never played South America.
Really?
No, no, we haven't done that. I would love to.
Oh. Well, let me know if anything I can do to help you out, man.
Okay, I will. Thank you.
Recommend you venues, and as I say before, if you are in town, I will send you my email through Billy, and then you feel free to come here. You will have the best meal of your life.
I, I'll thank you. I'll take you up on that for sure.
Then if I'm in California, we'll go and visit you, and then we can.
Hey, you got a place to stay. Have you ever come to California?
Yeah, I need to make arrangement with Alan Parsons. I would love to interview the guy, and he told me at the beginning yes, and then he got busy with other people, so I need to think. Michael McDonald, I would love to interview the guy. So I don't have all the contact that you have, but I I would love to interview so many people. So, I forgot to tell you at the beginning. I'm a computer scientist, so I do what I do because I'm really in love with music. I'm passionate about music. I spend a lot of money in concert by music. And the only reason that during the COVID, I thought, well, musicians are not touring. I better start calling people, sending email, and a lot of people get back to me. And now the channel is earning profit, is popular. I'm going to be interviewing a lot of very famous people in the summer. And having said that, every single penny that the YouTube channel generated on the radio, it goes to local charities. Actually, it goes to hospital. Every penny. I don't make any money. I do what I do because I love music. Music has given me so much satisfaction to my dad. And in many ways, I want to create like a musical archive for future generation. That's what I do. And if people like my accent and they like the question, that's great.
Yeah. Well, you're very pleasant to talk with. Yes.
Same here, man. It was very nice talking to you, Burleigh. Let's stay in touch, man. And then if I'm in town, I will knock the door. We'll go out to dinner or something.
Sounds good. Send me your address too, and I'll send you a CD.
I will. I will. Thank you. Appreciate it. Take it easy, man. Say hello to your wife as well, man.
I will. Thank you.
Yeah.